Hi everyone, Salesforce Admin Training, Day 8. Let's see what are we going to learn today. Today's agenda is we'll review the previous overview session and we'll talk about the use case and we'll talk about the creating custom fields and we'll talk about the using object manager and then we'll have assignments and schema builder, navigation steps for schema builder, use case of it, and then what are the drawbacks of using the schema builder, and then we will see the one of the use case, and then we'll have a field history tracking, interview questions, trial handling. Now, what did we learn in the last session?
Time data type.
Recording. We have discussed about the time, date time, number, percent, current URL, multi-pick list, email, geolocation, phone, data type, and the currency. Because we have seen all this. So whatever we have seen about the data types, right, from last 2 days, whatever we have learned the data types, from that we are going to create a use case. So the use case is we have to create a custom object with the name called position. Assume that we are implementing a application. For that application, we need a position object. We need position object to store all the positions or a job information in the object. All the job information in the object, we need to add it. So whenever there is a job position is open, then the related manager has to fill up the position record. So this is the requirement. Now, first I need to create a position object. That is the first thing. So let's go ahead and create a position object. Go to the object manager. Now, do we have a position object already? It's not there. So click on this create object. Now I'll specify the position object. Now positions and text, allow reports, activities, track history, allow charter group, and then allow per search, and also I'm going to create a tab for it. Position, now let's click on a tab style. And click on the next button. Default on, click on the next, and then click on save button. Click on save. Now the position is object is created, and the Salesforce has created the 5 fields, right? Created by, last modified by, owner, position name, and ID also. Also, Salesforce is created the page layout. Salesforce is also created the page layout. Now, this is the object creation. Now, once the object is created, in order to store certain information, like I already have a one field to store the position name. I already have a position name to store it. But let's assume that I wanted to track it, which location. I wanted to track it, which location is it, how many number of vacancies are open, what is the position status, when it is open, what is the milestone. We need to capture all those information in the position. So that means I need to create a fields that are required, position name, that is a standard field. Location, basically location is Possible that position is open in the single location or a multiple location. Let's assume that Salesforce developer position or a Salesforce admin position is open in Bangalore, Hyderabad. So that means we should have a flexibility. The manager should select Bangalore and Hyderabad. So in that case, which data type we will take it? Which data type we will go for it? We need to select the multiple options. So we need to have a multiple option selection. So there are some 6 values are there. Out of 6 values, this position is open in 4. So that means multiple options I need to able to select it. Multi-select pick list. So we will be using the multi-pick list and let's make it as a mandatory field. And the next one is number of vacancies. Number of vacancies. Now the manager has to place it whether 1 position open or a 2 position open or a 3 position open. He has to specify the number. So what should be the data type for this? It should be the number data type and let's make it as a mandatory. And the next one, we need to have a position status, which is a pick list. I'm going to create a position status, which is a pick list, where we will have a default value. New status is the default value. Now, open date. We need to capture the date when the position is getting open. We need to capture when the date is getting open. When the position is open. So what should be the data type for this? For open date, what should be the data type? Date. Date is the data type. And also milestone date. That means how long this position will be open. When it is going to end date. Milestone date is end date. Open date, end date. So what should be the data type for this? Date. So it should be the date and let's make it as a mandatory. Now, let's say that how much the company or the organization is ready to pay, minimum amount, how much they can pay for a candidate. So what should be the data type here? Currency, right? So maximum, let's make it as a 7. And similarly, maximum budget. How much is the maximum budget that company can go up to the? So that is also currency. Maximum, we will take it as a 7 and let's make it as a mandatory. Now, HR email ID. Who is the person? Who is the person that is taking care of this position? Who is the HR person? That email ID should be tracking. That email ID should be tracking. Right, so we need to specify the data type as email. Now HR contact, let's make it as mandatory. Also, I need to capture the HR contact number. HR contact number. HR contact number should be a phone number. Should be a phone number. And I wanted to check whether the candidate is having a passport is for this position, is the passport is required or not? What if the position is getting open? That for that position, do we have a passport is required or not? For that position, is the passport is required or not? I need to capture whether the passport is required or not for that particular position. It should be a checkbox. checkbox yes or no. Similarly, travel required, I need to capture whether it is required or not. So similarly, this is also checkbox. Now the next one is position description. Position description. For position description, like we are going to add a information about the position. Let's take it as a text area long. Now the next one is the skills. What are the skills is required? What are the skills are required? Text area rich. What is the skills? Skills are required. So we can go for text area required, rich text. You can take anything, whether it is a text area rich or text area, because we can, if you want to change a font or anything. Pick list is not possible because few members will have a different skills. Like, right, all the skills we cannot add. In the organization, there is a multiple skills are available. Right, so we cannot take it. So it has to be a text area or a text area long or a text area rich. So however the requirement says, now here you are going for a text area rich. Now let's move on. Let's go ahead and create the fields. Now in this, click on the new button. Now I'm going to create a location. Location is a multi-select pick list. Select this, click on the next button. Now here I'm going to select location. Location and enter the values. Let's say Hyderabad, Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, Noida, right, and Pune. So these are the places which we have. Pune and let's say Chennai. Right, these are the locations. Now I wanted to select maximum visible area. Let's make it as a 4. And location is the one. Now this is, let's make it as a required. Whenever I make it as a required, in the second screen, this is going to be the disable visible. Visible is a disable. Click on the next button and then click on save. Click on save. Now the location is created. Location is created. Now if I go to the duplicate, let's go to the application. I can see the position object. The position object. Now in this position object, you can have a click on a new button. Click on new button. Now I can see the position name, location. Maximum 4 fields it is going to display. Maximum 4 fields it is going to display. Hyderabad, Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, Noida, Pune. Right? Now click on this. Now I can select multiple options. I can select it. Right? Both are mandatory. See here, star mark is available on the location, which is mandatory. Now let me create another one, which is a number of vacancies. That is a number, data type. Click on this next button. Now here, number of vacancies. Number of vacancies. Now number has to be a, let's make it as a 2 digits. And it's a required field. Now click on the next button. And click on the field level security. By default, it will be taken for the required. Now click on save. Now we have a number of vacancies created. Number of vacancies is created. Now the next one, I'm going to create a position status. Position status is pick list. Click on the next button. Position status. Position status. Now here enter the values. New, in progress, waiting. Just a second. New, in progress, waiting, on hold, position can be go on hold, and then closed. Position can closed. Or sometimes we will reopen the position. Now display the values in the alphabetical order. Use the first one. Now, I do not want the first one as a default because first one will go as a closed. Now let's not make it as an order. I'll use the first one as a default. Now new should be the default. Position status is a new, should be the default. Click on the next button. Now visible, it should be visible for almost everybody. Click on the next button. Now click on save new. This time I'm clicking on the save new because if I click on a save, what will happen? It will go back to the fields and relationship. It will go back to the fields and relationship. Again, I need to click on the new button. Again, I need to click on the new button. Now the next field is open date. When is the position open? Now I'll take the date, data type, open date, and let's say it is a mandatory. Let's not make it as mandatory. Click on this next. And click on the next button. Now this time I'm going to click on save and view. This time I'm going to click on save and view. That means create this new record, save it, and open the next data type. Next one is end date. Let me create an end date, which is a date. I'll create instead of milestone date, I'll create an end date. End date. For end date, it's a date. Let's make it as a required. Click on the next button. By default, this will go on disable. Read only mode. Click on the next button and click on save and view. And then we have a amount, which is a currency. I'm going to add a currency data type for a minimum pay, maximum pay. What is the minimum pay the company is going to offer? Minimum pay, what is the company is going to offer? Maximum, let's go with 8. Right decimal, let's go with 2. Decimal, let's go with 2. And minimum pay is that's okay. Click on the next button. Click on the next. And then click on again save new. Now the next one is we are going to create one more maximum budget. Maximum pay. Let's say maximum pay. Maximum pay also, let's make it as a 8 and there's 2 digits. Now let's make it as a required because they cannot go above that. Now it is required. Click on the next button. Click on save and view. Now we are done with capturing few information. Next, HR details I need to capture. HR email ID. So let's take it data type as an email. Click on the next button. This is HR email ID. Now it's mandatory to capture the HR email ID and click on the next button. Click on next, save and view. Whenever we are creating the fields, 3 screens are there. Step 1, step 2, step 3. 4 steps. Step 4, the last one. Now the next one, I'm going to capture the contact number of HR phone. Click on the next. Step 1 is completed. Step 2, I need to specify the name of the field, HR contact number. HR contact number. Now let's specify this. Let's make it as a next. And click on this is a step 3 and the step 4. So 4 steps which we have to do it for creating the fields. Now, once we are done with, now the next one is a checkbox where we are going to capture the passport is required for this position or not. Passport required. Now there won't be a required checkbox here. So step 2, click on the next, click on the next and save and view. Similarly, I'm going to capture the travel required or not. Now it is a checkbox, data type. Click on the next. Travel required. Travel required for this position or not. Click on the next button. And click on the next button. Finally, we are done. And the next, I'm going to collect the position description details. Position description details, which is a long. Now I'm going to take this. Now here, let's say position description. Position description. Let's say I'm going to take the position description. Let's create it. Position description. I have taken the visible line. Click on the next button. On next, save and view. Skills required. You can take either rich text or you can take a text area long also. Text area long. I'm taking the text area long. Skills required. Now click on the next button. Next. And then save. We are done with creating the fields. Now, for example, after creating the fields, if I wanted to modify, for example, position date or a position description, I wanted to modify. By mistakenly, I have created the long text area, but client requirement is they wanted to add some font or color, everything they wanted to add it on this description. So text area long, it will not fulfill that requirement. So now I need to update it. Whenever you want to update this, now here you have an option to click on edit. Click on this edit. Now you can see here position description. And inside this position description, we have an option. Now I wanted to change the data type of the field. I wanted to change the data type of the field. If I wanted to change the data type of the field, I have to click on this change field type. Change field type. Click on this change field type. If you click on that change field type, you can change from the long to rich. Now, it is just asking because if you have a records already created inside the system. Right now, what we are doing is we have just created the object and we are making, immediately we are changing it. Assume that in the real time, whenever we create an object, we have pushed the object to the production. Now there are 10,000 records are there. After creating the records, if I try to change the long to rich, if I try to change the data type of the field from the long to rich, what will happen? The backend data will be impacted, right? So it is saying that this text field supports the limited HTML tag, and it is asking me that if you are using this field for the Apex classes or a trigger, somewhere we are writing some logic related to this field or in the Visualforce page, right? Whatever you saved this API earlier, you cannot convert to the rich text area field, right? Whatever you have used it. Now on this, there is a business logic is implemented. So in that case, it is a risky. You need to make sure that it's not impacting any existing logic. Right now, we are using the latest one. Just now we have created the fields and there are no records are there. So it is saying that, are you sure using the HTML in this field formatted text in the Visualforce page? I'll say yes. Click on OK. I'm changing the rich text area. Now fine, click on the save button. Now number of the visible lines must be greater than 15. Let's take it as a 12. Click on save. If you want, you can increase this. Let's take the characters. Let's increase this. Click on the save. We have changed it to the rich text area. Now, sometimes you need to identify before changing the field, before changing the data type, you would like to know that this field is used to which all are places. Which all are places this field is used. If you wanted to know, click on this position. What are the field is there? Click on that field. And there is a one option on top. Here, view the field at. There is a where is this used? If you wanted to know that which all are places this is used. Which all are places this is used. If you wanted to know which all are places it is used, click on this, which all are places it is used. Right now, it is only used in the layout. But in the real time, the fields might be used in the Apex, Visualforce, right? Different places it is used. Maximum, it will give you the Visualforce pages, and Apex, it will not give you the Lightning Aura details. Mostly, it will not give you the LWC, but you can cross-check. Right here, you can see that before changing any of this data type, cross-verify that this field is used which all are places. Because whenever we change the data type, it will be impacted in the existing logic. So we have to be very careful whenever we are changing the data type of the existing field. Right? So there is a lot of confirmation we needed on that. Now we have created all the fields. Now let me make it as a, let's go to the page layout. Let's go to the page layout. Now, in this page layout, now let me open this page layout. Everything, all the fields are added in the left side. Now if I go to click on this, refresh, whatever the fields so far we have added, all the fields are added only in the left side. That means one by one, it is added. See here, everything is in single line. Everything is added in the left side. There is nothing in the right side. By default, it will add everything into the left side. By default, it will add it to the left side. Now, in the page layout, I can divide the information. Now, if you look at this position, location, number of vacations, so many informations are there. Now, customer will not understand exactly, like this is like a confusion form. But if you divide it section wise, like I'll divide the section wise, this minimum pay, maximum pay is currency related or salary details, right? Open date, end date is, I'll make it as a one group. This is about the position details or a position open details, right? So number of vacations, position status, right? This is another thing. Again, HR email, HR contact, those are HR details. Now, if I divide that into the section wise, it is easy to understand anybody. Now, how can I divide that section wise? Now, everything is in the left side. Now, what I'll do is we have an option in the fields. There is an option called section. There is an option called section, which is inside the page layout, inside the fields. Now, drag it to the down. Now, it is going to ask you that what is the section name? Let's say HR information. I'm going to add it HR information. Now, do you want to show this section inside the detail page as well as the edit page both, or do you want to show this only in the detail page, not in the edit page? Let's say I'm going to show it into the both detail page, edit page. What is that mean? Detail page is nothing but whenever we create a record. Now, for example, if I go to the client, now whenever I open this record, now this is called as a detail page. This is called detail page. If I click on the edit button, it is like a edit page. This is edit page and this is the detail page. Even new button is also edit page. Now it is taking the detail page layout, edit page, and I'm going to take a 2 column. That means you want a 1 column to be displayed or a 2 column. Let's take it as a 2 column. And the next one is tab key order. Now, whenever you click on a tab key order, for example, you are clicking on here, I'm into the rating. Now, I click on a tab. Where it is going to the phone. Again, I'll click on tab. It is going to the parent. It is going to the facts. So from the client, it went to the phone and then it came here, parent, client, and then it came to this, right? Again, I'll show you, right? So cursor, I'll place it here. Now it went to the phone number and parent, client, and the facts. Again, it will come to the client number and the website. Client side, ticket number, ticket symbol, right? So it's a Z order. Do you want your tab should be working in the Z order, or do you want to work in the N order? That means first go up, down, 1, 2, and then go here, right? So which one? Let's go with the Z order. Click on the OK. Now HR information. In the HR information, I want the HR email ID and the HR contact. These 2 information I needed. Similarly, I'm going to drag one more. Let's say salary details. Now let's click on this OK. Now the salary details are minimum pay and the maximum pay. Minimum pay and the maximum pay. Also, I'm going to place it open date and end date. Let's place it this also. Instead of salary details, if I wanted to change this, click on this salary information. Click on OK. Salary information. Now what else we have? Travel related information. Drag it section. Now travel information. Click on OK. In the travel information, I'm going to place it travel required and passport required, right? And the last one which we needed, description information. Now let's place it here. This is a description, or let's say, description information. And I wanted to go with 1 column. Click on OK. Now in this description, I'm going to add a skills required, position, description. position description. Perfect. Here we have a position name, location, and let's make it as a position status, number of vacancies. Now, number of vacancies, now let it be there. Right, so here we are going to display, click on the save button. Now I have made the page layout adjustment. I have configured on the layout, like how the field should be displayed in the layout. Now click on this, refresh. Now, if I click on the new button, this is how the data is going to display. This is how the data is displaying it. Now the position status, let's say that Salesforce developer, Salesforce developer position. And let's say it is open in the Hyderabad and let's say Pune. And status is by default, it is taken as a new. Number of vacancies, let's assume that 4 number of vacancies are added. 4 number of vacancies are added. Now HR email ID, let's say samskar it@gmail.com. Now number is, I'm going to specify here some number, contact number. And what is the open date? It's open from the 17th and end date is next month 18th. So 1 month this position is open. Let's say it's at 20 lakhs. Now here it is, maximum they can give up to the 40 lakhs. Right, travel required? Yes. Passport required? Yes. Skills, what are the skills that are required? Skills are required. Let's assume that skills are admin. Inside the admin, like a object creation, fields and fields creation, and then sales cloud, service cloud, and similarly marketing cloud. They should be knowing about this marketing cloud and knowledge on the FSL, knowledge on the CPQ, right? So these are the information which is needed, and along with this Apex and Visual Force page. This is what is required. That is the skills which are required. Now, let's say description of this. Now here I'm going to add here experience. No, this is not the one. Now let me add the few more details here. Job description here. Now 5 years, Salesforce configuration experience, 5+ years, and then 5+ years of hands-on in the LWC Visual Force and design development, technical expertise, participating in the full, write the technical specification. Right, so that's all enough. Now here I'm going to add the bullet point. Now let's say configuration, let me make it as a bold. LWC, let's make it as a bold, and Visual Force, let's make it as a bold, and let's change this to the red color. Similarly, LWC, I'm going to change it to the red, some pink color. Now, design, develop, document, test, debug, this also into the bold, and let's make it as a different color. Click on OK, and Write a technical specification. Now I'm going to make it as a bold technical specification. No, that's it. Click on save. Now our position record is created, and the above normal information we have. This is HR information, salary information, travel information, description. Right? If the client wants to see only the HR information, HR wants to know who is the HR. Now they can open up this. Or they also wanted to know the salary information. Now they can open up this. Or if they wanted to know the travel information, they can open up. So this is the way of building the page layout. You can build the page layout in an understandable, where either client or a user should be able to understand what is required here. What is required. So we can create a custom fields using the object manager or schema builder. Right now we have created using the object manager. Using the object manager, we have created the fields. Now we have a 4 steps in while creating the fields. We have a 4 steps. Now you have to go to the fields and relation step. Step 1 is you need to choose the field type. Step 2, enter the details of the field. And step 3 is establish the field level security. What is whether you want it to visible or not. Or click on the next button. Final one is page layout. Data type, field information, field level security, and the page layout. 4 steps are there. Now, take an assignment. Create a custom object, customer demographic with the below required fields and customize the layout as per the what are the mockup that I have given here. Create a custom object. Inside that, customer demographics with the below required fields. Now you need to create the object called customer demographics. Inside that, the field is called customer demographic details. This is a standard one. This field is a standard. By default, it will be created whenever you create a object. It will be created customer demographic name. It will create a customer demographic name. It will create it. Or you can create a customer demographic details also. The next one is first name. You need to create a first name, and it is a mandatory field. Last name, it's a mandatory field. Date of birth, it's a mandatory field, right? And gender has to be a pick list. User should not enter here. User has to choose it from the pick list, and it is mandatory. The residence address, it's mandatory. User has to enter. Take a notes of it. Now let's move on. Now, few more custom fields. Temporary address. Create a temporary address. User has to enter the details, not mandatory. Number of years in the current residence address. number of years in the current residence address. It has to be pick list from 1 to 10 and it's a mandatory. Residence number, user has to enter the residence number and let's take it as a mandatory. Mobile number, what are the customer mobile number? Capture the customer mobile number. Customer residency, owner. It has to be its own, customer is owning that building or it's a rented. Now nationality, which nationality it is, user has to enter and we need to capture the customer PAN number and the SSN national number. Take a notes of it. Done. Now let's move on. Few more fields. Now create a occupation type. What is the customer occupation type? Employee sector. These are the pick list values. Company name, office address. What is the designation of the customer? Number of years in the current employee. Number of years in the current employee. Take a notes of it. Mandatory is basically whenever you are creating a field, it will ask you that do you want to make it as a required field or not. You want to create a required field or not. Now let me show you that. Now whenever we are creating the field, click on the new button. Let's take it as a text and click on the next button. Now here you have a required, right? Required is nothing but a mandatory. Yes, you can do that. You can add it, whatever is available. Next, company name, office address, designation, number of years. And after that, few more. Last one, number of dependent. How many members are dependent on this customer? Family dependent. And number of dependents with the relationship details. Right, number of dependent, like how many members are depending on this person, and in the relationship, how many members are dependent. So let's move on. Now, the second one is a schema builder. The second one is schema builder. Now, from the schema builder, how can I create a basically schema builder is nothing but we know that schema builder is nothing but it is a graphical representation tool which allows the developer or admin to perform two operations. By using this schema builder, we can represent the existing object structure. We can see what is the existing object structure in the canvas with the pictorial format, which we have already seen. The second one is by using the schema builder, we can build the schema based on the business requirement. That means I can create a custom object from the schema builder. I can create a custom object from the schema builder. Also, I can create a fields. I can create a fields to it. Now take a notes of it. Then we will see how to create a object and fields from the schema builder. We will see that. Then okay. Now let's see navigation steps for the schema builder. Click on the setup menu, search for the option schema builder in the quick find. Then you will be able to click on this schema builder. When you click on the schema builder, it will automatically open up the schema builder. Right? So let's see the use case. What should we do using the schema builder? Now create a custom object called hiring manager. Hiring manager through the schema builder and add the below custom fields to the object. Now let's go ahead and create a hiring manager. Now, in order to do that, so click on the schema setup, search for a schema builder. Now we have a schema builder here. Let's go for a schema builder. Now clear all. Now I'll be going to the elements. In the elements, I have an object. I have an object. There are two tabs are there, object and the elements. Objects is you can drag the existing objects onto the canvas. Elements is where you can create a new object. Now here, I'm selecting the object and dragging the object onto the canvas. Now it is going to ask me that which object do you wanted to create. I wanted to create a hiring manager. Hiring manager. hiring manager object I wanted to create. Now here it is the hiring managers. Hiring managers. Now starts with the object name is a hiring manager. Now there is a text is created. Same information like normally how do we create an object? Same information, label, ruler name starts with object name description, right? Or do you wanted to use the Visual Force page, or do you wanted to go with the standard Salesforce context sensitive help settings? What is the record name? Data type, do you want to go with the text or auto number? Text or auto number. Allow reports. Yes, I wanted to allow the reports, allow activity, track the field history, and it is deployed. But what is the change if I create a object from the schema builder, or if I create a object from the object manager? What is the differences that I can find out? What is that which is missing here? If I create an object from here, create a custom object. No. It says label, ruler label, object name description. Now context, sensitive help settings, record name, data type, allow report, allow activity. All these are there. But what is missing if I create it from the custom object? The main thing which is missing. If I create a custom object from the schema builder, what is it missing?
Tab.
I cannot create a tab. I don't have an option to create a tab here from the schema builder. So I can just create an object. I can just create an object. Object is saved. Now we can see he created by hiring manager, last modified owner. The fields are automatically created. Now if I go back to the object manager, and if I try to search here hiring manager, the object is created. Hiring manager object is created. If I go to the fields and relationship, I can see the as is. But tab will not be created. Tab creation is not available. Now, how do I enable it? Again, you have to come back to the normal and click on these tabs. Click on the tabs. Now click on these tabs and create a new tab for a custom object. Click on this new custom object, and the object name is hiring manager. Tabs tag is hiring manager. Right, click on the next button. Now default on for everybody, click on the next button. So if I create a object from the schema builder, I do not have a flexibility to choose at the same time tab creation. I have to go back to the again same here in the object manager and setup. I need to search for a tabs. Again, additional steps which I have to do it. If I create the object from object manager, I can continuously create the tab. That is the one thing. And the second, now let's go ahead and create a fields. Let's create the hiring manager name, which is already available. Location is, let's take it as a location, hiring manager. For each location, only one hiring manager. Right? Hiring manager is nothing but a person. Person cannot work in the multiple locations. Person cannot work in the multiple locations. The person can work on only single location. Now the location here, it's a location. Now let's take here location. Location is a pick list. Hyderabad, Bangalore, Pune, Mumbai, Noida, Kochi, Vizag. Now here I'm going to create a field. Now below you have all the fields in the schema builder. Below you have a fields in the schema builder. Right. So now I wanted to create a pick list field. Now where is the pick list field? Here is the pick list field. Click on this and drag it onto the hiring manager. When you drag it onto the hiring manager, it will ask you to enter the label name. So let's say it is a location. And what are the values that I'm adding here? Hyderabad, Bangalore, Pune, Mumbai, Noida, Kochi, and Vizag. right? Let's say display the values in the alphabetical order and click on OK. Now, how many screens I have when I'm creating the field from the Schema Builder? Only one screen is there. Did it automatically assign all the field level security when I created the field from the Schema Builder? What will happen at the field level security? And what did happen at the page layout? Did it added or not? Now let's go ahead and create a hiring manager. Now set the field level security. By default, it is highlighted. It's available. Now, how about the page layout? Let's go to the page layout. And what are the location we have created? It's not added on the page layout. It's not added on to the page layout. That means user has to, developer or admin has to create all the fields here and come back from the page layout. In the page layout, they have to drag it on, drag the fields onto the page layout. Automatically, it will not be added to the page layout. If I create it from the object manager, as soon as I create a field, I have a one step. Do you want to add the field onto the page layout? So that step is going to explain us if I wanted to add the field on the page layout or not. Right? So that is the information which is going to ask. But here it is not asking. Now that is a pick list. Similarly, I can create a contact number. Let's make the contact number, email, and the designation and current CTC. Out of this, let's make contact number is a mandatory, email address is a mandatory, current CTC is a mandatory. Designation, it's a normal pick list. Now let me add the contact number. Contact number is a phone. Hold this, drag it onto here. Now let's create it here, phone. This is a contact number. Right, so it's not a, it's a required field. Contact number, click on it, save. Perfect. And the next one is email address. The next one is email address. I can drag the email address. Email address. Now let's make it as a required. Click on save. We have a pick list, which is a designation. I'm adding the designation here. Right, designation values are, let's say, HR executive, senior HR executive, and also we have a recruitment specialist, and then HR manager. HR manager. These are the pick list values. Sorting order, click on the save. And after that, we have a currency. Drag the currency here. Currency is, let's say, current CTC. Current CTC. Now let's make it as a mandatory. Click on the save button. Now done with creating it. Now let me go to the object. Now let me refresh. Now we have created a tab of hiring manager. Now if I open this hiring manager, click on the new button, what will happen? It is displaying the few fields which are mandatory. That means whatever the field that I have created from the Schema Builder, and only mandatory fields are displayed here. Only mandatory field, contact number, email address, current CTC. Now we also created the location designation. Location designation, we also created the location and designation, which is not displaying here. That means whenever we create a field from the Schema Builder, whatever the required fields are there, only those mandatory fields are placed onto the page layout. Rest of them, it is not placed onto the page layout. Now, wherever you have this line, which is nothing but it is a required field. It is a required field, right? Created by is automatically Salesforce is doing that. Now, if I have to go to the page layout again, I have to go to the page layout and then refresh this. We have a designation and location. Now, let's say I'm going to drag this information. This is the designation. Replace the site location. Designation, location, contact number, email address, right? Current CTC. Click on the save button. After this, let's refresh. Click on the new button. It takes some time. Cancel, refresh. We have saved the page layout, right? Page layout. Yes, I did saved it. Click on the new button. Still, it is taking time. Inspect, right click, inspect, hard refresh. Let me open in the logout and login back. Click on logout. In the Swapna IT application. Here we have a hiring manager. Click on the new button. Now it is displaying the values. Let's say hiring manager name is Manisha. And the location is, let's assume that this location is in Mumbai and designation is HR executive. Contact number, I can specify some contact number. Email address is samskar@gmail.com. Current CTC, what are the current CTC is there? This is a hiring manager current CTC. Let's click on a save. Now the record is created. Now this is how we have to create it from the schema. You can also create the relationship. You can create a roll-up summary field, formula, lookup, hierarchy, master, whatever all the fields, data types, we have it here. All the fields, data types, we have it. You can create a auto number also, you can create it. Now let's suppose I'm creating the auto number. Let's click on this. The action you performed is invalid in your session. Please refresh it. Click on refresh. I wanted to add the auto number. Now say HR ID. Now here auto number I wanted to add start the string. So auto number display here is, let's say HR hyphen It should start with 3 zeros and starting number is 1. Click on save. Generate the auto number for the existing records. If I do not check this, whatever the records that I have, it won't be generated. So what I'll say is, I'll say here generate the auto number for existing records also. Click on the save. Right? So auto number is, it is created by the Salesforce. The number digit is created by the Salesforce. Now if I go to the hiring manager, right, click on the new button. Now am I able to see the hiring manager ID? I'm not able to see. But if I open the existing one, if I open the existing one, I can see the hiring manager ID. Now it is not mandatory. Maybe it is not added onto the page layout. Let's refresh. HR ID, it's not added. Let's add the HR ID here. Click on the save. Now let's refresh. Inspect. Refresh. Right, here it is displaying the hiring manager ID. So whenever we click on a new button, am I able to see the auto number here? I'm not able to see the auto number. Auto number does not appear whenever we are creating it. Auto number does not appear whenever we are creating it. It is only available on the detail section. It won't be available on the new, as well as it is not available in the edit. Right? So the person cannot be edit, or the person cannot be modify the auto number. Now, for example, I'm creating another hiring manager, Shivani. Now, location is, let's say, Hyderabad. Designation is HR manager. Contact number is the number. And email ID, let's give the Samskar ID @gmail.com. And what are the current CTC is there? Let's get the current CTC. Now click on save. Again, it is, I have created and the auto number is added 002. This is the second record. Now, if I create a auto number, do you think the required field is mandatory for this? If I create a auto number, do you think the required field is mandatory for this? Basically, user is not entering this number at all. It is created by the Salesforce. When user is not entering this number, why should we need a required field? Why should we need a required checkbox? So that's the reason for auto number also we do not have a required checkbox here. Like if I create a text, I can see the required field. But auto number does not have, because auto number we cannot edit. It's not a editable, it is an auto number. By default, Salesforce is generating that number. User is not entering that number. User is not entering the number. It is automatically Salesforce is generating that number. So that's the reason this does not have a required checkbox. Let's see the drawbacks of by using the Schema Builder. What are the drawbacks? By using the Schema Builder, what are the drawbacks that we have? Now, while creating the custom objects and adding the field, Schema Builder causes the two drawbacks. What is the one? Whenever we are creating a custom object in the Schema Builder, it won't provide the tab for the object. That means it will create the table and the business logic, but the tab will not be created. Only Salesforce is going to create a table, fields, and the business logic. Tab will not be created. So what we have to do, we have to create a tab for the object additionally by going to the custom object tabs section. That is the additional work which we have to do. And the second one is while adding the fields to the object through the schema builder, it will represent only the mandatory fields on the page layout. What are the optional fields are there? It will not show the optional fields on the page layout. So what is the additional work I need to do? We have to add a optional fields onto the page layout manually by going to the page layout customization feature. That is the additional work for the admin. And the second one, you cannot provide the global pick list. Whenever you are creating a pick list from the schema builder, whenever you are creating the pick list from the schema builder, you cannot add a global pick list. It will just ask the value. It will just ask the value. But when we are creating it from the hiring manager, if I select the pick list, it will ask you, do you want to refer the global pick list or not? Do you want to refer the global pick list? But in the schema builder, it does not ask. In the schema builder, it does not ask. So there is a one more, cannot provide the global pick list values. Cannot provide global pick list values. And also field level security is not available. You cannot view the field level security, whether it is available for everybody or not, whether it is automatically added or not. So for example, let's say HR ID. And this is the auto number. Now let's take the designation. Designation is also pick list. And what else we have? Current CTC. Now if I go to the current CTC, this is the required, so it is automatically added the field level security. We cannot restrict the pick list value set also. We cannot restrict the pick list value set. That option is not available. That option is not available. Right, that is also drawback from the schema builder. That is also drawback from the schema builder. Right, so that's the reason in the real time, mostly what we will do is instead of creating the objects and fields from the schema builder, what we will do is we create it from the object manager. We create it from the object manager, which is a easy and straightforward. Less clicks, I can use it. Admin can use the less clicks. Now, take a assignment, create a custom object course. Create a custom object course to the schema builder and add the below custom fields to the object. Course name, location, pick list field, and course code, course fees, course duration. Now here, course code is a mandatory, course fees is a mandatory, course duration is a mandatory. Take a notes of it. Taken the notes. Next assignment is create a custom object student. Create a custom object student through the schema builder and add the below custom fields. Student name, student number, location, which is a pick list, student address, grade, and student hobbies. Student hobbies. Now here student number is a mandatory and the grade is mandatory and the student hobbies is the mandatory. 3 fields are mandatory. Take a notes of it. Now, next we'll go on. I'll give you those interview questions later. And field history tracking. Field history tracking. Now, by using this feature, we can track the history of the field inside the object. We can track the history of the field. For example, now I have a position object. Now let's go to the position object. Now let's suppose this is the position. This is the position, developer position. This is the Salesforce position. In this Salesforce position, now let's say here, the position status. I have a position status. Suddenly somebody made a changes to this. Suddenly somebody made a changes to the in progress. I don't know who made a changes. I don't know who made a changes. How can I track whether who made a changes onto this? Also somebody made a changes to the maximum pay. They have made a changes to the maximum pay to 6. If I remember correctly, it was a 4. Now somebody made a changes to this. We don't have a tracking system who has made a changes to this. Who made a changes to this. Now, in order to know that if you wanted to track on the specific field, if you wanted to track specific field history, what was the there before, what is right now, and who has made a changes. I wanted to know the audit history of that particular field. In that case, what we will do, we will go for a field history tracking. Field history tracking. It will track the user details who modified the record value along with the date and time. It will also give you the date and time. What was the old value? What is the new value? And when they have modified, what is the time that they have modified? Who is the user? Everything it is going to give you in the history. Now, there is a limit on the field history. You can track maximum of 20 field history per object. Only 20 fields you can track it as a history. You cannot go more than 20 fields. You cannot go more than 20 fields per object. So Salesforce maintained this for 18 months. Salesforce maintained this 18 months. After 18 months, automatically the history will be deleted. Automatically the history will be deleted. Automatically the history will be deleted. Now take a notes of it. Let's move on. Now, field history tracking, the prerequisites. What are the prerequisites for? To track the field history tracking, prerequisite is whenever you are creating an object, to track the field history inside the object, we have to enable the checkbox called track field history in the object setting. Track field history on the object setting. That means whenever we are creating an object, while creating the object, we need to specify the track field history tracking. You need to enable this. If you do not enable this, you cannot track the field level history tracking. You cannot track the field level history. So prerequisite is whenever we are creating the object, we have to enable the track field history in the object setting. Then to track the field history, we have to follow the 2 steps. Step 1 is select the required field that you wanted to be tracked. How you will be able to select it? Go to the object manager, click on the object name for which one you wanted to track the field, for example, position, and set the history tracking button. Click on the set history tracking button. Now let's go ahead, object manager. Now I wanted to open up the position. In the position object, now we have a field size relationship. Inside the field size relationship, we have a set history tracking. Set history tracking. Click on this set history tracking. Click on the set history tracking. And now you can select the fields to be get tracked using the checkbox. Now, if you wanted to track the position status, click on this. Also, I wanted to track minimum pay, maximum pay. Those are mandatory. End date also I wanted to track. Open date also I wanted to track. Now, maximum 20 fields you can track it. Click on save. Now let's go to the page layout. In the page layout, I wanted to see is my related list audit history is available or not. Now history tracking is, now here it is, position history. If you add this related list to the page layout, then only you can see. Because you need some section to show that what are the changes are there. Right? So in the page layout, you need to add the position history. Position history. I'm adding on to the related list. This is the position history. Click on the save. Now let's go back, refresh. Now here is the position history. Right? So here is the position history. Now, for example, I'm changing the position status from in progress to new. Click on save. Now here click on the related list. Now the position status is when it is changed, original value is in progress. What is the new value? New. Now who has modified? This person has modified. What is the field? Position status. When it is modified, this is the date and 8:58 p.m. Now again somebody came and again modified this in progress, and also they have updated the, let's assume that date they have updated to the 14. Now click on save. Go to the related list. Now what happened? Two things have changed. One is position status changed, original value is a new, and now they have changed to in progress 8:59. Similarly, open date is changed from the 17th July to the 14th July. 14th July. Now, if I again somebody came here and somebody changed to the, let's say, on hold, click on save. Now again it will give you that it is changed from the in progress to the on hold. New to in progress, somebody changed it. In progress to on hold, somebody changed it. So this is the history tracking. This is history tracking. Any questions? Now take a assignment. Assignment is enable the field history tracking for object student, and the track the fields. Fields are student number, location is pick list, and then grade. Pick list is grade. Take a notes of it. So let's go for the interview questions. What is Schema Builder? What is field history tracking? What are the different elements can be created using the Schema Builder? How many fields can admin track per object? And what will happen if we uncheck track field history on the object? What are Schema Builder drawbacks? How many months Salesforce can keep the history of the fields? Take a notes of it. And then I'm going to ping you the trial head links. It's similar to the previous one. So that's all for today.